Are you tired of taking medicines every day that you can barely name and still having back and joint pains? Make sure to watch till the end and pay attention. Imagine walking into an old apothecary in the year 1890. No plastic bottles, no blister packs, just glass jars filled with roots, barks, and resins that people trusted more than anything a modern pharmacy sells today. Now here's the question that should bother you. If turmeric, devil's claw, and boswellia were once staples for aching joints, why did they quietly disappear from medical textbooks the moment synthetic drugs hit the market? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what happened, why it happened, and how these three plants are still growing in gardens and spice racks all over the world, waiting to be rediscovered. Welcome to Bio Living, where we help you make your life healthier and better naturally, and share the knowledge that the media and big pharma would rather keep buried. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our daily uploads. And quick heads up, any products or affiliate links mentioned in this video will be down in the description below. Let's rewind the clock. Long before joint pain became a billion-dollar industry, ancient civilizations were already dealing with the exact same problem we face today: stiff knees, aching hips, and fingers that don't bend the way they used to. The Egyptians, the Greeks, and later European herbalists all documented the same three plants showing up again and again in their remedies. That's not a coincidence. That's centuries of trial and error pointing to something real. Let's start with turmeric, because this is the one most of you probably already have sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. For thousands of years, turmeric was a cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine in India. It wasn't just a spice for curry. It was considered one of the most valuable plants in the entire pharmacy of nature. The active compound inside turmeric is called curcumin, and researchers have spent decades studying how curcumin interacts with the body's natural inflammatory response. A number of studies, including ones published in journals focused on arthritis and rheumatology, have found that curcumin may help support comfort in joints when inflammation is part of the picture. Now here's the twist most people don't know. Curcumin on its own is actually poorly absorbed by the body. Your stomach breaks it down before it can really do much. That's the bioavailability trap. Drug companies took one look at curcumin, realized they couldn't patent a natural spice, and instead spent years trying to create synthetic anti-inflammatory drugs they could trademark and sell at a markup. Meanwhile, traditional healers already knew the fix: pairing turmeric with black pepper, because a compound in black pepper called piperine can boost curcumin absorption significantly. This is exactly the kind of whole plant synergy that gets lost when a company tries to isolate a single molecule and sell it in a capsule. Now let's talk about devil's claw, and I promise the name is way more dramatic than the plant itself. This one comes from the Kalahari Desert region of southern Africa, where it's been used by indigenous communities for generations to support comfort during achy, stiff days. The active compound here is called harpagoside, and it's been the subject of several clinical studies in Europe, particularly in Germany, where herbal medicine research tends to be taken more seriously than it is here in the United States. Some of these studies have suggested that harpagoside may help support joint comfort and mobility, especially in cases of everyday wear and tear. Here's the part that should really make you tilt your head. Devil's claw was actually being imported into Europe and used in clinical settings well into the 20th century, right up until synthetic anti-inflammatory drugs became cheaper to mass produce and easier to patent. Once a company can't own the rights to a wild growing root from the desert, there's very little financial incentive to keep researching it or promoting it, no matter how well it seems to work. And that brings us to the third plant on our list, boswellia, also known as frankincense. Yes, the same frankincense from the Christmas story. This resin comes from trees native to India, the Middle East, and parts of Africa, and it has one of the longest documented histories of any plant remedy on Earth, going back thousands of years. The compounds inside Boswellia, called boswellic acids, have been studied for their potential role in supporting the body's inflammatory response, particularly around joints. Research published in journals covering ethnopharmacology has looked specifically at how boswellic acids may interact with certain inflammatory pathways in the body. What's fascinating is that Boswellia was actually included in Western pharmacopoeias, which are basically official reference books listing approved medicines, well into the early 1900s. It didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because pharmaceutical companies pivoted hard towards synthetic, patentable drugs in the mid-20th century, and natural resins simply couldn't compete in a business model built around exclusivity and profit margins. Now if you're sitting there thinking, wait a second, why does this keep happening? You are asking exactly the right question. Because here's the pattern showing up again and again throughout history. A natural remedy gets used successfully for hundreds or even thousands of years. Then modern science comes along, isolates the specific active compound, and either can't replicate the full effect without the rest of the plant's natural cofactors, or the compound simply can't be patented because it already exists in nature. So companies pivot to creating a synthetic version instead, something new enough to trademark and sell at a premium. And slowly, quietly, the original whole plant remedy gets pushed out of medical school curriculums, out of pharmacies, and eventually out of public memory entirely. And look, if you're someone who's tired of paying out of pocket for prescriptions and supplements without really understanding what you're even taking or why, you're honestly not alone. This is exactly why we put together our complete research book, The Natural Pharmacy. It walks you through exactly how to use natural remedies like these, with real sourcing, real historical context, and a full 100-day plan to help support your body naturally. If that sounds like something you need, head over to our website linked in the description and check it out for yourself. All right, let's get practical because knowing the history is great, but you're probably wondering how to actually use these plants in real life. Turmeric is the easiest one to start with since most grocery stores carry it. If you're using the raw root, look for firm, unwrinkled pieces with a deep orange color inside when you cut them open. You can grate fresh turmeric into warm milk or golden milk lattes, which have become popular for a good reason. Just remember to pair it with a pinch of black pepper to help your body absorb the curcumin properly. If you'd rather grow your own, turmeric does well in warm, humid climates and can even be grown in large pots on a porch or patio if you live somewhere with colder winters. It takes about 8 to 10 months to mature, so patience is part of the process. Devil's Claw is trickier to grow yourself since it's native to arid desert conditions in southern Africa, so most people access it through dried root powder or tea form from specialty herbal shops. When shopping for it, look for products that specify the harpagoside content on the label, since that's the compound most of the research has focused on. A common traditional preparation is steeping the dried root in hot water for about 10 to 15 minutes to make a tea, though the taste is admittedly quite bitter, so some people prefer capsule form instead. Boswellia, or frankincense resin, can be found in health stores as either resin tears, which look like small amber-colored crystals, or in powdered extract form. Traditionally, the resin was chewed slowly or dissolved in warm water to make a tea. Some people also use Boswellia essential oil topically, diluted with a carrier oil like coconut or olive oil, and gently massaged into the skin around achy areas. If you have access to a specialty nursery, Boswellia trees can technically be grown in very warm, dry climates similar to their native habitat, though they are slow-growing and better suited to experienced gardeners with a lot of patience. Here's something else worth mentioning, because it ties all three of these plants together in a way that goes beyond just joint comfort. Every single one of these remedies works because of the complete plant matrix, not just one isolated chemical. Turmeric doesn't just contain curcumin, it also contains dozens of other compounds called terperones that seem to support how curcumin behaves in the body. Devil's Claw doesn't just contain harpic acid, it contains a whole family of related compounds that appear to work together. And Boswellia contains multiple types of boswellic acids, not just one, each potentially playing a slightly different role. This is the exact reason why so many synthetic drugs, despite isolating what scientists believe is the single most important compound in a plant, often fail to replicate the same results as the whole plant itself. Nature rarely works in isolation, and yet modern medicine has spent the last century trying to bottle isolation, as if it's an improvement. This same pattern shows up over and over again if you start paying attention. Willow bark and aspirin, foxglove and modern heart medications, even something as simple as vitamin C from whole fruit versus a synthetic ascorbic acid tablet. Time after time, the whole plant version brings along a team of supporting compounds that the isolated synthetic version simply leaves behind. Once you start recognizing this pattern, you start looking at your own medicine cabinet a little differently. And you start wondering how many other forgotten remedies are sitting quietly in gardens, spice racks, and desert soil, waiting for someone to actually pay attention again. Before you go, here's what I want you to take away from all of this. These plants aren't magic. They aren't going to instantly erase decades of wear and tear on your joints overnight. But the research is real, the history is real, and the fact that these remedies were pushed aside in favor of patentable synthetics is also very real. If you're someone who wants to take a more natural, informed approach to how you support your body, these three plants are absolutely worth researching further and discussing with your own doctor. And speaking of doctors, one last reminder before you go. Everything in this video comes from historical records and published research, but it is not medical advice, and it's not a replacement for professional care. If you're dealing with a serious health condition, please talk to a licensed doctor before starting anything new. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what we're covering next, and we'll see you in the next one.